the world's writers will walk through those gates. And if you hang around, you get a chance to talk to them.
I'm interested in conversations that deal with things that matter, but real, how do we live our lives?
First of all, make climate change personal in your life. The second step is get angry and get active. And the third step, and believe it or not, I think this is the most important. We have to imagine this world that we want to hurry towards.
It's about kindness is looking at people as people and not as I voted this, I do this, whatever it is. There are some people we will never get along with, but most of us are a complex mass of different things.
Hello, I'm Julia Donaldson. Some of you might know me from some of the books I've written, such as The Gruffalo or What the Ladybird Heard. Well, one of the things that I really love normally about coming to the Edinburgh International Book Festival is meeting children who love to read and bringing my stories to life for them on the stage. This year, of course, none of the authors or illustrators can do that. But I am delighted that this year's online book festival is available and free to so many children in so many different places. So I hope that anyone watching has a wonderful time and that it makes you want to read lots and lots of books.
Hi everybody, I'm Laura Dockrill and I'm so excited because actually just the day before yesterday, for the first time, I met the copies of my brand new book, Sequin and Stitch. I have not seen it yet with Sara's illustrations. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so proud of it. I'm working with this lovely publishing house, Barrington Stoke, who specialise in making gorgeous books for reluctant readers or readers with dyslexia, and it's just been such a lovely process. It's very rare that you meet the illustrations of a story that you've made in your mind and the characters look exactly as you've envision them, and the illustrations are just fantastic and really bring the story to life. I'm going to read this now for the very first time. I've not read this out loud to anybody yet. There could be some mistakes, but I want it to feel like a live reading for you guys. So I hope you enjoy as I read the first few chapters of my book for the first time. Sequin and Stitch. Chapter 1. I live in Primrose Mansions. It doesn't look like how a real mansion is meant to look. It's tall and cold and grey and split into lots of small flats. If you look at our building from far away, it looks like a remote control for a giant's TV, a big rectangle standing up on one end, covered in teensy window buttons. And we live all the way up on the 12th floor. Me, Mum, and my baby brother Stitch. Up here, I can pretend I'm the princess of the city, sitting on my throne, looking down on the world from my high tower. We are safe up here, hidden in our fortress, Mum and me and baby Stitch. And our home is a special palace. It is, and I'll tell you why. Chapter 2. My mum is probably one of the most important people on the planet, but it's difficult because she doesn't even know it. You see, my mum is a maker, And that means she makes stuff with her hands. She makes clothes, and not just any clothes. She makes magnificent ball gowns and glorious frocks, fancy three-piece suits and decorated quilted coats. You know those amazing outfits that famous people wear on the red carpet at film premieres and award parties? Guess who makes them? My mum. The illustrations are so amazing. I can't wait for you to see them. I mean, it just doesn't do it justice, but the dream. Have you seen those dresses the women in perfume adverts in magazines wear as they spread out across sofas? Guess who makes them? Yeah, my mum. She works so hard night after night, crouched over her desk under the peachy lamp in our living room. She sips tea after tea, sews stitch after stitch, bead after bead, embroidering and braiding, lacing and hemming and bordering. She works until her fingers bleed and her back aches, and she is so tired she says she can see stars. The beads and sequins on the clothes make me feel as if I'm surrounded by a princess's precious jewellery. So to me, our flat is a palace, and it's perfect. Well, all apart from our annoying downstairs neighbour, grumpy, moany, bony Mr. Tony. I'm not allowed to call him that to his face. He smokes 1,000,000,005 cigarettes a day and makes our palace stink with the stench of them. He used to smoke indoors, and that was bad because the smell seeped in through the ceiling. So then we asked him to smoke on the balcony, and it got even worse, as we can hardly ever open up the windows now. But we're too scared to tell him because he's so miserable. Moany Bony Mr. Tony absolutely hates life and us, and always bangs on our floor with a broomstick when we have the TV too loud or do too much dancing or jumping. He shouts, "Will you keep that bleeding racket down?" And we shout back, "Sorry, Tony," even though he should really be the one saying sorry to us for making our house smell like an old boot. I said to Mum that Moany Bony Mr. Tony should give up smoking because it's really bad for him. But Mum said that it's because sometimes people need something that makes them feel... Mum says that sometimes people need something bad to make them feel good. And I said, what? Like me and sweets? And she said, exactly. Like you and sweets. I think Moany Bony Mr. Tony fancies Mum, I whispered to Stitch. But Stitch is just a baby, so he says nothing back. Not that it matters. Mum would never ever fancy bony, moany Mr. Tony's old wrinkled face and his bloodshot eyes, not to mention his old smelly beard that is kind of white but stained brown like it's been dipped in a cup of tea. Chapter 3. The dresses that Mum makes are my favourite. The more sparkly and magical and fairy tale-like, the better. The colours of the fabrics that she uses are so amazing that I completely forget I'm looking at a piece of clothing. Instead, the folds of emerald and jade velvet and silk transport me to a rich, tropical rainforest. When I see the dresses being made from scratch, it's like watching a tiny jungle grow from a seed before my very eyes. I know it sounds silly as they're just dresses, but it's true. Layers and layers come together to make something so real and magnificent, it's easy to get attached to the clothes. It's as if they have personalities. And then all of a sudden the outfits are ready after they've lived in our flat for all this time. They must leave us and Primrose Mansions. And it's like they never existed at all. It's a bit like losing a friend, really. And I can't think of anything sadder than that. I'm sure there are sadder things. I just can't think of them this second. I often say to Mum, I love this one so much. Can't we keep it, please? And she just laughs and says how expensive the dresses are. We would never be able to afford one of those dresses, not even if we saved up for our whole entire life. When Mum has finished an outfit, it's my job to find as many photographs of the person wearing the dress or suit as I can. I look in magazines and newspapers and cut them out and pin them to the wall. Our wall is covered with pictures showing Mum's years of work. It's like an archive, a record of everything she's made. It's an art gallery containing all that is amazing about my mum's clever brain. I always search for her name in the magazines, but I never see it, ever. Only the designer's name appears. That's who Mum works for. I don't know how the designer can live with that. It's a bit like taking somebody else's drawing and writing your name on it, pretending it was drawn by you. And so the world will never know that it isn't the designers that make the beautiful clothes. It's actually my mum. But I know. And so does Stitch. And now I guess you all know too. And that is why my mum is my inspiration. Chapter 4. I'm Sequin and I am 9. And everything I've just told you was a speech I gave at school. I read it out in front of everyone in my class, which is brave for me because I don't like talking out loud in front of everybody, especially not at school. But I did it because at school we're learning about inspiration. Inspiration is a pretty difficult word to explain, but it's a good word to know. When you're inspired by something or someone, it means that you are so impressed by their amazingness that it makes you want to do something amazing too. Our teacher, Mr. Moore, asked us what we think about inspiration and what inspires us, and then we were asked to give a presentation on it. Alice said her inspiration was her grandma. She is now an old lady, but when she was young, she was a nurse. Zainab chose a YouTuber. Tegan said her inspiration was Mr. Moore because she is an annoying teacher's pet. David Fisher chose food. Sophia chose the pyramids in Egypt. And Amir chose his great-great-great-uncle, who was a scientist. Mum blushed like a grape and shook her head when I first said I was going to do her as my inspiration. But then she realised I was serious and helped me look in her wonderful scrap box. This is a big plastic box full to the brim of odd bits and offcuts of material: silk, cotton, lace, velvet, lycra, crepe. I wanted to make a big collage of Mum's fabrics to show everybody at school. We rummaged in the box like we were digging for treasure to find tabs and rags and squares of fabric, and then we stuck them on a big roll of display paper so big that I needed Mr. Moore to help me hold it up. While we were sticking the fabric down, all I could think about was how much my class would not believe their eyes and ears when I told them how clever and creative my mum was. How we had so much fabric at home. How my mum made dresses for people in magazines and famous people on red carpets too. They would not believe me at all. Chapter 5. After my presentation, Tegan from school calls me a liar in front of everyone. She says in this horrible little voice, "I asked my mum about you, Sequin, and your weird mum. She said that if your mum really made all of those dresses for all them famous people, then you lot would be millionaires living in a real mansion, not some rubbish estate like Primrose Mansion." I shake my head and say, "That's not true, Tegan." Now Fatima joins in. "Do you have any idea how much those dresses cost, Sequin? Like thousands and thousands and millions of pounds. Your family would be rich if you were telling the truth." "I am telling the truth," I reply, defending myself, my mum, Stitch, and all of the dresses too. Wet gluey tears build in my eyes and my knees feel weak and wobbly. "Well, anyway, it's not good to be a show-off." Fatima talks down to me like a teacher. "Yeah, nobody likes a show-off," Olivia pipes up. "Just saying." "Oh, shut up, Olivia," I think. "I wasn't showing off," I argue. "The presentation was for school." "It was for school," Tegan mimics me. Everyone knows you only mimic someone when you can't think of anything else to say. Olivia sniggers to impress Tegan. "Maybe Tegan's right, Sequin," Fatima says and shrugs. "Maybe you are a liar." "I am not." "Yes, you are," Tegan snarls. "Or then, why are you so poor?" I say nothing and look down at my beaten-up shoes. I should have said, "Well, why are you so horrible?" But I think of that too late. Tegan's face is going purple, the same purple as the heart-shaped beaded bodice my mum made for the actress Swana Lee for the premiere of Love Loss. Tegan spits. I reckon you just pretend your weird mum does all that sewing stuff because your stupid name is Sequin and you're just embarrassed. Or maybe your mum's just mad." This stings. I feel like I've been slapped right round the face, yet nobody's even touched me. My face tingles with blood, but it feels like electricity and my eyes water. The words hurt. People have called my mum mad before, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. They're only stupid rumours. Mum's not mad. She's just shy. That's all. My mum isn't mad, I tell them. And she's not weird. Then how comes she never leaves the house? Tegan snarls. Ouch. I don't know the answer to that. She just doesn't like to leave the flat. What's the problem with that? I suppose sometimes it is weird. I'm never allowed any friends over. Everything has to be ordered online and delivered. Mum never comes to meet me at the school gate. She's never come to a Christmas play. I say nothing. Yeah, thought so. Weird. Tegan smirks and walks away. Nobody sticks up for me. Everybody's too scared to stand up for scary Tegan. Some people in my class feel sorry for me, I can tell, but I don't like it when people feel sorry for me. It just makes me feel worse. When I really think about it, our flat is a palace to me, but for Mum, it's a prison. with the window sealed shut. It's like she's chained to the walls. The chains are invisible, yet they're stronger than any metal, and I can't think of how to break her free from their grasp. Chapter 6. Stitch is happy I'm home from school. I scoop him up and sit him on my lap. I squeeze his plump cheeks and blow noises on his round tummy and kiss him to absolute death. He always knows how to make me feel better because I can say things to him I can't say to anybody at school. He understands, even though he's just a tiny baby. Mama's got some news. Sequin, she says, sit down. I have some really exciting news to tell you. I hold my breath, then gasp, what is it? We've got a new job. Okay, I can tell this is going to be good. It's a big one, Mum says. I get excited. This is probably the best bit about Mum's job, finding out what she's going to make next. A feathered corset for an actress's fancy dinner, a frock for a jewellery advert, a shimmering fairy tale ball gown, a ballerina skirt. Sequin, I have been asked to make the princess's wedding dress for the royal wedding. What? Mum! I jump up and down. I lift Stitch up and swirl him around in the air. He gargles with delight. Wow, 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 I say, and hug Mum tight. This is the dream job for you. What are the ideas? What colours? What shapes? I can't wait to see the drawings. When do you start? Calm down, Mum giggles. I will show you everything, but it's a big job. I'm going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time. I'm going to be very busy, so I wanted to make sure that you'd be okay with that. Mum, yes, of course I'm okay with that. I can help. Oh, I know you will. Thank you, Quinny. I will, I say. I'll help with threading and needling and all the delicate bits and picking up any tiny pins. Okay, my lovely. Mum smiles. That will really help. And I'll take care of Stitch too, so you don't have to worry about him. I run over to Mum's wall and start looking at ideas. Oh, Mum, this is so great. I can't wait to tell everybody at school that you're making the real-life royal wedding dress for the actual princess. Oh, that's another thing, Mum says. We aren't allowed to tell anybody about this one. Oh, why not? It's very private and special, Sequin. I know we're excited, but it's traditional for a wedding dress to be kept a secret. But, Mum, it's the princess, I say. I have to tell someone. Yeah, like annoying Tegan. This is the royal wedding dress, Sequin. People will try to get a sneaky peek of it however they can. If even one photograph of the dress gets out, the whole thing will be ruined. It's very important that the designers trust us, that it remains a secret, so we have to be patient, okay? Okay, I slump down at the table. Promise? Mum asks. Promise. I begin to fiddle with the stem of an apple from the fruit bowl. Will your name be mentioned? I ask. I sort of know this question will annoy her, but it would give me proof that Mum really does make all the famous people's clothes. Then everybody would know that I'm not a liar. They'd know that my mum is actually important. Mum raises her eyebrows and gives me a knowing look. Sequin, not this again, Mum says. You know it doesn't work like that. It's the designer's name they want in the magazines, not mine. Yeah, but you're the one that does all the work. Mum, come on, it's the royal wedding dress. You deserve to be mentioned. At least think about asking them. Okay, I'll think about it. Promise? I ask. Promise. Well, that's a promise each then. I nod, then bite into one of the apples. I spit out the mouthful fast. Mum frowns at me. What? It was mushy and brown tasting, I say. Mum points to the bin and I plod over and do as I'm told. How did your inspiration presentation go at school? Mum asks. I hesitate. I want to tell Mum about Tegan, but I don't want to make her feel bad and spoil her good news. I think everybody was inspired by you, Mum, I say. You're so amazing. They almost couldn't believe it. She laughs. I don't know about that. She strokes my hair and adds, you're very sweet to do the talk about me, Quinny. It means a lot to me. I love you. I love you too, Mum. I can't help but yelp out another squeal of excitement. Mum, you're making the royal princess's wedding dress. We jump up and down all over again. And then we hear the broomstick beating on the floor. Moany Boney Mr. Tony from downstairs shouts, will you keep that bleeding racket down? Sorry, Tony, we sing. And then we giggle and poke our tongues out at the floor. When I'm rocking Stitch to sleep later on, I imagine the princess coming to collect me from school with Mum. She gives the door a high kick in her beautiful wedding dress and shows them all that everything I've said about Mum is true. That would shut up Tegan and her annoying mum. Then they'd be sorry. Chapter 7. Over the next few weeks, our doorbell rings constantly with deliveries of materials and tools for Mum. Opening each box is like the best surprise ever, over and over again. Mum is so busy she barely has a chance to look up. She's already made the wedding veil. It is like a huge fishing net. You might catch a massive, gigantic blue whale inside. It has millions of individually stitched petal shapes scattered all over it. Pink, coral, yellow and lavender. They are detailed and delicate, like blossom. And I shake the veil out and it spreads across our whole living room, floating in the air like a rainbow. We hang it up with clothes pegs on the washing line across the flat. Stitch lies beneath it, his legs kicking and his button eyes staring up at the canopy above. We can no longer see the TV, but we don't care. The veil is way more interesting. We have to hop across the living room to make sure that we don't step on anything precious. It's like we're leaping across shark-infested waters. We pass Stitch across the room like he's a parcel and watch him at all times so he doesn't put any beads or pins into his mouth. Mum says that when I'm older, I'll be able to do lots more sewing and stuff if I want to. But the princess's dress is just so precious and the materials are so expensive that Mum can't afford to make any mistakes or let me help. But she does let me thread the needle for her in preparation for the fine needlework. It's easier for me because my hands are so small. The eye of the sharp needle winks at me. I take great care, my eyes squinted, tongue out, a frown on my face, even though I'm not cross. I'm just trying to do a good job for Mum and for the princess too, of course. The needle slides down the golden thread like a pendant on a necklace, like it always was meant to be there. And I feel so proud because I threaded the needle for a dress that is going to be worn by an actual princess. I watch Mum work while Stitch sleeps on the sofa behind us. His puffy mouth is like a heart-shaped bruise and a kiss. The soft, warm glow of Mum's working lamp lighting up his angel cheeks. I fight off sleep. I'm falling in and out of a dream. Eventually, Mum says, "It really is time for bed now, Quinny." I want to resist, but I know she's already let me stay up way past my bedtime to help with the dress. So I kiss her goodnight, knowing she'll be up for hours. The radio will babble quietly in the background. Tea and biscuits will keep her company. I fall asleep with Stitch gently snoring next to me, his chest rising and falling. I'm excited for the next morning, when Mum will have done even more work to the dress, and I can't wait to see it. It's like my birthday every morning.